Okay, today I'm going to talk about shopping campaigns on Google again. Of course, shopping campaigns also exist on Bing. As I've said on many of my different PPC money-making strategy videos here, that if you're not using Bing already, you should. Even if you're not even doing Google advertising, just to let you know up front, anything that works on Google usually works on Bing better, unless you're marketing to a very young audience. Let's just put it that way, or very technically savvy audience in general. So it's 90% of markets, you absolutely want to use Bing. So smart campaigns, as you would imagine, they work on Google, they work on Bing. But what I'm going to mention here is your setup and going, I guess, also one step back here again. The settings that work on Google work on Bing. So if you're going to do smart shopping on Bing, all you have to do is just do your smart shopping on Google the right way, that way that I'm going to show you here on this video. You're going to then import that campaign into your Bing account like you would with other campaigns, and you're good. Of course, the ROI will be a little bit different on your shopping campaigns there, so you can adjust what I'm telling you here on Bing separately. After, I always recommend adjusting bids and revenue targets or ROAS targets as these smart shopping campaigns are set up for, or have the option to be set up for, that every quarter you're assessing, and this goes for all campaigns, and down as far as you can go, meaning down to the keyword level, the ad level, or excuse me, the device level, age demographic level, gender demographic level, what state the user's in, what time of the day they search, what day of the week they search. You're going to assess what the value of clicks are from each one of those individual groupings. Keywords of its search campaigns, of course, as well, is just the obvious one. And then on a quarterly basis, you're going to identify if you're hitting your target cost per lead or cost per sale or ROI that you are trying to hit. And if it's above average, you're going to pump the bid up a little bit to an appropriate amount, so you're getting the maximum value out of that particular campaign and audience type, if you will, or demographic type of people who search that keyword. And then you're taking it away from different places where it's working less. And that right there gives you a huge advantage on your competition because they're not doing it. And so you do that manually on everything but shopping. Smart shopping, as I mentioned just recently, about 6 months ago or so, smart shopping does better than regular shopping. And you can't really, and I've tried this on I was a strong believer in manual bidding and negative keywords on smart shopping, on shopping, not using smart shopping, whereas now smart shopping, actually, I can't beat it. So, but what you can do with the shopping campaign still is you can set what is called a target ROAS number, which I'm going to explain how to do that in the most optimized way. And so what you can actually do with it to optimize that shopping campaign for best results. So ultimately, at the end of the day, down the road, you're going to have one target ROAS setting just for your Bing Smart Shopping and one on Google, based upon the market rates for traffic on Bing is universally different than what it is on Google. Namely, if you didn't know, also I haven't watched my other videos, it's normally, a good 20% or so to 50% or so cheaper, varies by market, on Bing than it is on Google. So with that said, if you just bid the same thing on this target ROAS on Bing as you did with Google, which is fine right away until you assess how it converts in your market, that you're going to be leaving a ton of revenue and profit on the table that Bing provides lots of profit on, but doesn't have a lot of volume. So you want to get the most sales. It's always coming down to, or should, how do I get the most sales at a rate that's still profitable with my margins or not? And if you don't know what that is, you stop what you're doing and you figure out what that is. You figure out, even if you're generating leads, how many leads you need to make a sale, how many sales you need to, and what the average lifetime value of a customer is. And don't tell me I don't know, or everybody can figure that out by going into their books. And yes, you may have whales and tiny people, clients that don't go anywhere, but you could still average it. And you could always still come up with a number of how much revenue you should be generating per dollar on ad spend. Which, when you have that, everything else becomes clear. You know how to get the maximum value out of PPC and do it without sweating or losing sleep. Like, am I going to go bankrupt? Every dollar you get that shows you're hitting the either target cost per sale that you're looking for, or should I say ROI, or you could boil it down to a cost per lead. Cost per sale and ROI is better. Even if you're doing regular lead generation, you can do what is called offline conversion tracking and import sales that you're getting offline, online. So you could do an ROI based target and to see your ROI that you're getting on. So with that, not just e-commerce businesses, but any kind of business right there. And then from there, you can see if you're hitting your goal or not definitively. If you're not, of course, it's not a matter of, and as I said before, if you're going to get results with PPC, it's a matter of running your campaigns, knowing kind of what works, just by watching my videos, what kind of campaigns work. Just use what I use. Don't have to go through all the pain I did to figure stuff out. And if it's not getting what you want ROI-wise, you're just, under the mark, you dial your bids back to a cheaper amount what that traffic is worth for you on an account basis, a campaign basis, on a keyword basis, so on and so forth, like I talked about a minute ago. And now it is producing the profit for you. So it's not a matter of, as I said many, many times then, along with that, if PPC can work for your market, but how much? And so the better you are, the more you're going to be able to get out of it. But everybody can make some, because you're going to, the more, ultimately, the better you are, the more you're going to be able to afford to pay for the traffic. And your goal, though, still should be, how do I suck up every click in this market of mine so none of my competitors get it, and I just starve them? Because you have such an efficient model where you can do that. So anyway, it all comes down to numbers. You got to figure out what your numbers are. You got to use your options available to you in your ad accounts to identify and dial in. Dial in your bids so that you are getting your at least the revenue per dollar of ad spend that you need to be in business and to have your ad self-finance itself and not be wondering or guessing, hey, is my phone ringing or not, or does my bank account getting bigger? You're the one of the 10 or 20% of your market doing that, and that's where you need to be, where you're 10 to 20% of the market that makes all the money is at along with that. They're not leaving it up to chance. So if you want to be in that group or class of people, then this is what you need to do. So anyway, though, how do you actually do, set up a smart shopping so you are going to get the maximum value out of it? And that's what this video is going to get to now that I went through a small rant explaining background of what you should be doing with your PPC. Now, normally on my videos, if you've watched my videos before, you see I have a short list of things that I cover, of things to do versus not do, how to set up the strategy I'm mentioning to work for you and get maximum value out of it, and also, of course, things like how much actual revenue you're going to be able to generate from it, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go through all of what that is right now. First thing on my list I wanted to talk about today was about why smart shopping, why now? As I alluded to a little bit before, smart shopping actually does better than regular shopping now. Even me doing PPC all day long for clients, I cannot make regular shopping beat smart shopping. So, and it's easier to do, so there's literally zero reason not to do smart shopping in 2021 and beyond. There's less options, so I've heard people say, Corey, I don't like it because I can't use negative keywords. Well, technically, the algorithm takes care of that for you with smart shopping. I always told people is you don't want to use smart campaigns because it'll run erratic. Your campaigns will run erratically before they get optimized through trial and error because the algorithm's kind of dumb, if you want to just say that. But with smart shopping, the campaigns already seem to be working well in like 2 to 4 weeks. So that's not even a factor anymore either. So you don't need the negative keywords. If your feed is set up right and you're in a market where there's reasonable demand for what you sell, and you know, that just leave it at that. Smart shopping will work 99% of the time for you. And then of course, you get much better results with smart shopping. Smart shopping and just shopping in general generally works better than search campaigns. You can still, in the end though, on e-commerce businesses that we help manage here, half the revenue long term is coming from the search and half is coming from the shopping, because you know, there's still good, you know, you don't want to just run shopping. It just takes more work to set up shopping and more of a ramp up period. So, but the good thing with shopping is it works fairly quickly because the traffic's cheaper. When people see an image there and you're not paying for a click unless they already know what they're after and they've been, you know, your product image is going to be attractive to that user, which is what the main thing that attracts the user. The click is more qualified when they get to your site, and so therefore it has a higher return. And therefore it also works quicker because the search ad is, with, you know, the text ad there is kind of a blind proposition for the user. They may click, they may get to the site, what you have may not be appealing to them right away, and they go away. And then so you have to be more careful, but then once you build it up, it's just as profitable as shopping, just as a general disclaimer about things. So anyway, with that, how do you set up shopping? So automatically your smart shopping campaign is set up for maximum conversion value optimization. So you can't set product bids or anything with this. You could still, of course, set up for each category of products you sell, you can set up a smart shopping campaign for each one of those. And if you're not getting the ROI that you want, even after this small strategy on using the target ROAS on your campaign there doesn't work out for you, the next thing that you can do is just break it out by category, as I mentioned, so that the highest producing categories, you can just rely on that, and then everything else gets kind of cut out. And then with that, of course, whatever little bit you can get from lesser producing categories, you'll get, but you can control things better. And then simply put, you just ain't going to be able to get those other categories to work, you don't use them. So that can take you from like a 300% ROI to an 800% ROI just by waiting out the categories that are not that great producing for you. Okay, so that's a side thing. So you'll always use those. So you don't, Google, when you set up a smart shopping campaign, they don't force you to use any target ROAS setting at all. I'm telling you right now, you want to use the target ROAS setting. Just take my word for it. With that though, there's more to it than, you know, like I mentioned before, figuring out what kind of ROAS you need, which ROAS again it's abbreviation for return on account spend. Return on account spend is your revenue from your people who clicked through that ad on your shopping campaign divided by the ad spend for that shopping campaign. So that's your target ROAS. Now, here's a simple formula that not really so simple, but this is a formula that I follow to get the maximum amount out of my shopping campaign so you can do it for yourself. So, and that is, right away, start out, I go 25% higher on the ROAS, target ROAS, than the last 12 months shopping or other campaigns. So if I'm not running shopping already, I'm figuring out where I'm at with my ROAS on the whole account. I'm adding 25% to that, and then using that as my target ROAS for the shopping campaign, or campaigns if we're doing multiple categories and breaking it up, running multiple shopping campaigns so we can break up different categories of products for different campaigns. If you have shopping already, take the ROAS from your current shopping, add 25% to that, and then that's your target ROAS for your smart shopping. So pretty simple starting out. So, you know, and with that, there's a spooling up still with, as there's with any campaign. The algorithm affects your results on your ads way more than people think. Your results a year from now will be way, 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 way better than what you have the first week. And so you have to know that or expect that going in. Otherwise, you may not give your campaigns a chance. So I always tell people, start small with what you can afford to lose, like you're going to a casino almost here. Similar philosophy works there. And keep with it until, and it'll slowly, you won't see it get better because it's so slow, but eventually it will get better. And if you're anywhere near where you want to be in the first month, stick with it. a year down the road, you probably, you'd be surprised if you got triple, 3 to 5 times the results that you had even the first month, to give you an idea. But with that, so I gave you the general rule here. That is what I would do if I have an established account, which there's a good history behind the account in general. If you don't have an established account, what I would do is I would figure out what target ROAS that I need. If I know I need an 8-to-1 return right away, or just in general for my business, from PPC in general, that smart shopping, and with that my formula there, then instead in that particular new account, totally new account proposition situation, then I'm going half my target ROAS. So if I need an 8-to-1 ultimately down the road at some point, that's what my long-term goal is with the account. I'm going 400% for my target ROAS, mainly because it's going to start out running crappy. If you run it too conservative up front, it will take way longer for the campaigns to spool up, because that's just kind of how it is. I would want my campaigns to work as quickly as possible. I'll take a little less return up front so that it can work in 2 months versus 6 months. And along with that, it's not going to get your target ROAS anyway right away. It's better to, you run it at 400% for 90 days, and then you're going to make, in terms of the profit the first year, your profit the first year might be double by setting it up a little bit more liberally, like that, half of your actual goal the first 90 days, and then set it to your actual goal after that. Just hopefully that made sense the way that I explained it. Apart from that, after 90 days of initially launching your shopping campaigns, experiment with going up 20% on target ROAS or down 20% and see its effect on your sales. So every 90 days, as I mentioned, you're going to, on other campaigns, look to see if you can go more or less aggressively with your bids to get the target ROAS that you want. In this particular situation, it's actually its own beast, if you will. If you're hitting your ROAS goal already, what you don't do is just sit on that. If your ROAS goal is 8-to-1 and you get it, you should go plus 20% to whatever your ROAS goal. So in this case, that'd be about 10-to-1 at that point in time, like 9.8. And you'll see how that affects your overall money that you're making, and see if that's the better setting for you or not. And then you let that run at 9.8 or 980%, for 90 days. You're going to do an analysis on how much money you've made, see if that's right, and then if you made more, then you're going to go up another 20%, another 20% until you've optimized profit from your shopping overall. If you're not, of course, running, with that said, if you're making I said it backwards. Instead of 980%, if you're making your target ROAS, you should go negative 20%. So instead of 8-to-1, you'd go 6-to-1, and then see what that does. If you're not making enough money, of course, something else to also consider trying then would be to actually go up to your 980% and see how that affects your brand. Because ultimately what it comes down to is there's a lot of Google's conversion tracking, a lot of sales that will not get attributed to the shopping campaign. Everybody just expects, the campaign, if it doesn't say 800% ROI, ROAS, ROI, same thing, on my account, I'm not doing it. Well, in a lot of different, it varies by market. In a lot of different cases, only half the sales will actually show up in your Google Ads account under your campaigns. The other half will come through. You'll get it through people bookmarking your site and coming back. Coming back 90 days from now, typing in your brand name and then purchasing. You're going home, buying on a different device or searching at work, so on and so forth. And so you want to play with this ROAS setting because it's going to be able to have your ad show up more or less aggressively based upon where that's set. The algorithm then runs it more or less liberal based upon kind of how much it's set up or down. So there's a little formula here I mentioned. Overall sales divided by ad spend shopping ad spend is your shopping quotient. So what I mean by experimenting with 20% up or down is what so if you're doing your target ROAS, you'll do a lowering of 20% of your target ROAS for 90 days and see what happens. During that 90 days, once it's over, you're going to look at your overall sales that you had come in from your car or your overall business or whatever. If you're, mainly running PPC ads to generate your business, and then you're going to divide it by what you spent on shopping, because a lot of your sales are not going to show up in your account, and it's a false confirmation as to what the actual ROI of these shopping campaigns are. If you're wondering why I said to take so much stock in the conversion data in your account for optimization purposes versus seeing how much money you're making. For optimization purposes, the conversion data in your account's not perfect, but it's perfectly fine because it undercounts evenly across the account. Whereas for you to use the conversion data to see how much you're actually making, that's not what you do. The lesser the price of the product, the more accurately it will track, because the more often people will, as a whole, go straight through a purchase, which the tracking then becomes more accurate in that they don't come back later on very often to purchase or finish their purchase. So you look at your overall sales divided by what you spent on shopping for the 90 days and compare it to what you had before in the previous 90 days. Of course, you have to factor out any seasonal adjustments. You can do year-over-year analysis that way. And then, of course, if you're making more, lower it another 20%. Run it more aggressive. If you're making less, instead of, go ahead and put it not only back to where it was at 800%, giving my past example, go to your, 980%, and then do the same thing there. That's how you're going to optimize and get the most out of that shopping campaign. Of course, if you run that kind of experiment, you're going to have to pretty much chill out on the rest of what you're doing through the account in terms of new stuff. But usually in 2 quarters, you're going to find the ideal setting for this target ROAS setting to get you the maximum amount of profit from that ad that you can get ultimately overall. And of course, it's nice to think about volume. The more volume you do, the less the greater your margin. So do some math there as well. But you get the general idea there. You're going to repeat the process of going up or down 20% on the target ROAS setting, since that's your main setting that decides whether or not you're going to be able to optimize that campaign and squeeze out as much profit as you can. Repeat every 90 days till it's optimized. Ultimately, like I said, you'll have other stuff you want to do, and then you got to be able to isolate as far as running an experiment, an A/B test on what you're doing here with the 20% target ROAS up, adjustment up or down. That should be the only thing you're doing. I would then pretty much try to round it up, and you can get it most of the time in like 2 quarters done. Of course, upwards of sometimes 4 quarters. If you're mostly running shopping, then go all the way. Otherwise, if you need to do other stuff, then I would say get it close, and then you could call it good. It's your call. But you get the general idea of what you're going to do here to squeeze out as much profit as you can from what you're doing. And you'll have to do a little bit of analysis in your overall books, or even better would be for me to just look at the cart revenue. I'm taking cart revenue divided by my shopping ad spend, figuring out what that quotient is, comparing it on a 90-day basis versus the previous 90 days, factoring out any seasonal adjustments, seeing if I need to go up or down in the target ROAS setting, plus or minus 20% again, until I found the sweet spot on the target ROAS that I need. But in general, that gives you a general starting point of where to set target ROAS right away, so you don't neuter the campaign too quickly, not give it a chance or undercut what you're doing, because there's a better way to look at how to see if it's actually working for you, so that you are really going to get the full amount of what shopping can deliver for you in real world profit, and to not actually use the target ROAS setting as what most people think it is as, which is to tell literally Google how much profit you want. You look at overall cart sales, and then you use that as a tool to go more or less aggressive with the campaign. you're going to make a lot more money doing that versus just saying, I need an 8-to-1 ROI. I put that in there, you're done. I never, am satisfied with just doing that. Even if it's, I don't have much time. It's such a big difference in terms of where that's set at to get the peak profit. That's basically for an e-commerce brand. That's the top 3 things for sure that makes the most money in terms of time and effort and put in to focus on. Maybe even, I would say, number 1. So anyway, that goes over everything about the smart shopping and how to optimize it. Given the main thing that you can actually optimize, you always want target ROAS, and you always want to generally focus on that since it's in the top 3 things to kind of make you money in terms of what you can do with an e-commerce brand using Google Ads, Bing Ads as well. If you like this video, I have a lot of other money-making PPC strategies on this channel you should check out. Over 100 videos at this time. Of course, I also have a step-by-step instructions on how to build the campaigns I build to guarantee our clients results on my blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog. If you would like to see that, you can check that out as well. Of course, other than that, if you have any comments about smart shopping, anything else that I didn't cover that you have questions on or think I should have covered, leave a comment down below. I always get back to everybody who leaves me a comment on this channel. And so you go ahead and if you feel like you need to do that, you can do that. But I hope I encouraged you to, if you are doing shopping, take a look at it again for sure. And if you're not doing smart shopping or just shopping in general, you should do shopping and definitely look into smart shopping for yourself as well.